Last week, Melina Lipkovich from PeopleQ is not here today. Stefan Lipkovich, who's substituting for her from Caviar Partners, and Ben from Market Ease, and I launched our series of Rethink 4.0 breakfast presentations. In each quarterly presentation, two of us get the opportunity to present strategic solutions from our area of expertise to business owners who are dealing with the challenges of running a business in the fourth industrial revolution, which we are now living through. Since this applies to all of us, I thought I would adapt my presentation to share with you today. Before I get into how harnessing the power of design thinking can have a positive impact on your business and to those of your networks, I would like to share some interesting stats from Stefan's presentation. So, when outlining top challenges for business owners today, he revealed that 4 out of 5 businesses don't have a strategic plan. And 95% of a typical workforce doesn't understand its organization's strategy. 90% of small to medium businesses don't clearly understand what their clients want or value, which I found absolutely amazing, or they haven't done effective research. To better understand their customers in the last 5 years. The last one I chose was that 86% of leadership teams spend less than 1 hour a month discussing strategy. Now, if you consider that we are living and operating businesses in a highly competitive and rapidly changing environment where digital communication and artificial intelligence is resulting in people becoming more and more detached, it makes sense that we need to make more of an effort to connect with and understand the end users of our products and services. They want us to connect with them, and they want to feel heard. With 90% of small to medium businesses not clearly understanding what their customers want or value, it is clear that as business owners, we need to start doing things differently. As Albert Einstein said, we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. So it's time to adopt a fresh approach to business strategy that results in the design of better products, services, processes, growth, spaces, architecture, and most importantly, user experiences. This is where design thinking comes into play, and this is how we can help. Designers like myself and Julie at CoLLECT Design see the world differently to everyone else. We pay attention to ridiculous details and have a strong sense of empathy. This enables us to actively listen to people and make them feel heard. We are visual communicators and problem solvers with the ability to explain complex ideas in a simple visual way based on how the end user will experience it. We expose our clients to design thinking every day when we're working on their branding projects, but if carried out by a trained professional, it can be applied to problem solving in all businesses and even at government level. Large corporates like Google, Apple, Samsung, and General Electric have been rapid design thinking adopters, and it is now taught as complete degrees at universities from Stanford to Harvard and even at Adelaide Uni and UniSA. So to achieve this human-centric approach that helps us to connect with our end users, we need to build a design-driven culture in our businesses that really understands the customer, brings empathy to the organization, designs in real time, and allows us to act quickly when things need to change to address problems that crop up. Having a strategy day once a year or even every 5 years, which is dire, does not allow businesses to be as nimble as they need to be these days. So this is the design thinking process in its simplest form, and we apply it to every project we work on at CoLLECT, regardless of its size. So we make use of empathy mapping at its first stage, and I have done this with the group before, and there wasn't time for me to do it today. But this is what an empathy map looks like, and with design thinking there are lots of different exercises that you can do where you use post-it notes and texters and good old-fashioned visual and mind mapping. This process of empathy mapping is what's traditionally used in design thinking to actually map out what the personas of an organization target market are. But in CoLLECT Design, we actually use it to help our clients to put themselves in their customers' shoes so that they can fully understand the sensory experience those customers have of their brand, their products and services. This is also where we map out their pains and gains of working with their organization and start to get into the define stage of the process. And that's where you should spend the most time. And I always suggest that as many people as possible from a business should take part in these sessions, as well as in the ideate phase and then in the testing and prototype phase. By including design thinking exercises in your strategy meetings and introducing more than just management or team leaders, your workforce becomes an integral part of getting to understand your customers, which starts to solve some of those problems I spoke about in the beginning. And by helping to define the problems of the organization, that the organization might be having with connecting with their customers and coming up with ideas to find solutions, making quick prototypes and testing them out themselves, they are a part of developing the business strategy. So you don't have to get them to buy into it afterwards. They're already fully invested. And they feel like they've been heard, which is also really important for how your staff feel about working for your organization. So although I've explained this very quickly, it does show how design thinking can begin to minimize the challenges that I spoke about in the beginning. So I've said this quite a few times because I've presented it a few times, but design without strategy is just decoration. And this is our design process at CoLLECT. So there's plenty of planning that happens in the beginning stage, and you'll see that designing actually only starts on the third block down, and we like to include our clients in all of these stages. So wherever there's a red dot, that's where there's client involvement. So it's always a total collaboration for us. So now I'm going to share a couple of stories with you that'll just help to illustrate the power of design thinking. So the first case study I'm going to talk about was where a client called us and asked us to design. She thought they needed a sales brochure. It was the marketing director that called us. So I went to their office to meet with her, and when I walked in, it was a 1970s building, and it had really dirty brown carpet in the reception area. There was a dead plant in the corner, and it had one of those, they used to be in like old doctors' practices where there was a high desk, so all you could hear when you walked in was the receptionist's voice, and she was on a personal call, quite a high-pitched voice. So they don't often get people coming or clients coming into their business, but you never know who's going to arrive, and it didn't give a really good impression. And then when I walked through to the marketing director's office, I realized that there were only two women in the organization. It was the receptionist and the marketing director. And the sales team sat outside, all males, and they're all having a really blokey conversation, and some of them even had girly posters stuck up at their workspaces and stuff. And the marketing director shared with me, we looked out of her office, and so she had glass in front of her office, and that was what she had to look out on. And she actually shared that she was struggling to get the guys to listen to her. Now, did I share that the owner of the business had gone overseas because they were expanding the business, and he'd left the marketing director in charge. So throughout our conversation, she also shared with me that it was a manufacturing business, and in their factory they had a lot of non-English speaking employees, and sometimes instructions were lost in translation because they didn't always understand the instructions. So from me going there to get a brief about a marketing sales brochure, I actually realized, I told her that that's like the last thing you need. What you really need to do is get a new carpet in reception, ditch the plant. If you can't keep it alive, don't have it there. Get a new reception desk, speak to your receptionist about not talking on personal calls, get her to lower her voice. Once the sales team was made aware of how they were actually affecting this marketing director, they modified their behavior and their conversations, and also actually started speaking differently to their customers. In their factory, we developed some infographics to explain how procedures needed to be followed so that there were less mistakes, and then they saved more money. So in the end, actually just employing design thinking solved a lot of their strategic problems. So I thought that was quite a nice case study to share with you. But what's also important to realize that even if you have a strategy in place, 90% of organizations fail to execute their strategies successfully. And this is something that we often we find a lot with clients, where I realize that budget is sometimes an issue, but we like to work with our clients to make sure that we can facilitate that as much as possible, because you can change it. Thank you. If you, where you have a situation where clients come to us and we design a new logo for them and give them a style guide, there is often a perception that they can go away and do everything else themselves on Canva. But sometimes that can actually break your brand. And it's really amazing when you get a client who has faith in you to take your brand, to take their brand and look after it from start to finish. So I'm now going to share a story with you that was a referral from Megan from Your Wealthy Life, who isn't here today. But she shared with someone in her network how amazing the empathy mapping session was for her when we developed her brand, and how it helped her to understand her target market, and also the resulting design of her branding that resulted. And so this contact of hers got in touch with us, and they wanted us to do empathy mapping with them. So we met with the whole Forbes wealth planning team, and they were all involved in the empathy mapping, and they were really honest, and that was really brilliant because it helped us to really get down to the nitty-gritty of what their brand story was. Where they were fortunate is that the user experience is always top of mind for them, but their biggest problem was that the look and feel of their branding didn't match the quality of their services. And so that was where we worked with them, and I was really grateful that they had the faith in us to let us run with their whole identity. So, do you want to go to the next one? So this is what their old logo looked like, and this is the new identity that we developed for them, which they believe really captures them in a nutshell. But it's not just about your business card and your folders and your website. It's about your language, the language that you use when you're speaking to your clients, and everyone needs to be singing from the same hymn sheet. So that, it comes down to having this similar culture in your business. Everyone needs to be aware of what your business strategy is. Everybody needs to be aware of what your purpose is. It's so, so important. And so that was what we did for Forbes. So we also rewrote all the text on their website and helped them with their language. We did all of their signage, internal and external signage, and completely revolutionized the way they felt about how their business was seen by their customers, so that they could tell the full story of the services and the feelings that they can provide, and that sense of reassurance to their customers. So thank you very much for your time.